The older I get, the more I understand why so many people are no longer rushing into marriage. Honestly, I understand them. Because after years of observation, experience, and reflection, I have come to realize something most people are too afraid to say out loud. Marriage is beautiful, but it can also become one of the greatest sources of emotional exhaustion in a person's life when two people do not fully understand what they are entering. And I think society has oversimplified marriage for too long. People talk about weddings, people talk about love, people talk about finding the one, but very few people talk about the emotional weight that marriage can become when one person starts carrying the relationship alone. Very few people talk about the loneliness that can exist inside marriage. Very few people talk about how easy it is for companionship to slowly turn into responsibility, pressure, emotional labor, and silent frustration. And the honest truth is, many people are quietly tired. Not because marriage is evil, but because many people entered marriage without fully understanding what marriage requires. So in this video, I want to share my honest opinion about marriage. Not from bitterness, not from hatred, but from honesty. Because I believe marriage can be beautiful, but I also believe it is something people need to think more deeply about before entering into it. One thing I have realized is that society taught many people to focus on getting married rather than understanding marriage itself. People are taught to desire the title, but very few people are taught how emotionally demanding marriage can become when two people are unequally carrying the relationship. And honestly, one of the biggest things that changed my perspective about marriage is realizing that you're not just marrying a person, you are marrying their childhood, their coping mechanism, their emotional wounds, their communication style, their habits, their fears, the way they react under pressure, the version of them that appears when life becomes difficult. And I think many people discover these things after marriage rather than before marriage. Because love can make many people ignore realities that eventually becomes impossible to ignore later. And this is one of the reasons I became so passionate about helping women think more deeply about marriage instead of simply entering for weddings. Because choosing a partner is one of the most important emotional decisions a person would ever make. Yet, many people enter marriage without truly understanding compatibility beyond attraction. And that is something I go deeply into in my upcoming course. The kind of man you should marry based on who you are. Because not every good person is necessarily the right person for you. Who you are emotionally, mentally, matters so much when you are choosing a life partner. I will talk more about it very soon, but I genuinely believe many people would save themselves years of emotional exhaustion if they approach marriage with deeper self-awareness instead of pressure, fantasy, and desperation. Love is beautiful, attraction is beautiful, chemistry is beautiful, but shared values matters more than people realize, because eventually life begins to happen. Responsibilities come, stress comes, children may come, financial pressure may come, emotional seasons come, and suddenly marriage is no longer just about feelings. It becomes, can we communicate healthily? Can we respect each other consistently? Can we handle conflicts maturely? Can we apologize sincerely? Can we take accountability without always becoming defensive or playing victim? Because honestly, everybody always says they want honesty until honesty requires self-reflection. And these are the things that now make me personally believe marriage is something people need to think very, very deeply about before entering. Because marriage is not just romance. Marriage is emotional maturity. Marriage is self-awareness. It is responsibility. It is sacrifice. It is partnership. It is two imperfect people trying to build one life together without emotionally destroying each other in the process. And another thing people rarely talk about is this: the person you marry today will not exactly remain the same forever, and neither will you. People evolve. Pain changes people, success changes people, age changes people, experiences changes people, life changes people. So marriage is really two people continuously learning each other again and again through different stages of life. And if both people are not intentional, emotional distance slowly begins to grow. Sometimes people are still physically together, but emotionally disconnected. And honestly, that kind of loneliness can be deeply painful, because you can sleep beside someone every night and still feel unseen, still feel emotionally unsupported, still feel alone. And this is why I think many people are exhausted inside marriage today. One person slowly becomes the emotional support, the encourager, the caretaker, the problem solver, the stabilizer, the strong one, while secretly becoming drained themselves. And after a while, what was supposed to feel like companionship starts feeling like emotional survival. And I do not think that is what marriage was created for. Marriage was supposed to make life lighter, not emotionally crush one person while the other leans on them completely. Another thing I have come to appreciate over the years is how much the little things matter in marriage. Not just the grand gestures, the little things, the kindness, the thoughtfulness, the emotional consideration, helping each other without being asked, checking in emotionally, gentleness during stressful moments, affection, feeling valued. Because honestly, many marriages do not collapse from one giant moment. A lot of times, they slowly weaken from accumulated neglect, from people no longer feeling emotionally seen. Another thing I believe is that your partner cannot become your entire universe. I think many people unknowingly enter into marriage expecting one person to carry every emotional need they have. But healthy marriages still need healthy individuality, friendship, purpose, personal growth, community, a life that still has identity outside of the relationship. Because when one person becomes responsible for another person's entire emotional world, exhaustion eventually enters the relationship. And all of this is why my honest opinion about marriage has become far more nuanced over the years. Do I think marriage is beautiful? Absolutely yes. I think healthy marriage can be one of the most beautiful things in life. But do I think marriage automatically guarantees happiness, peace, or fulfillment? No. I think everything depends on the emotional health, maturity, and self-awareness of the two people involved. Because honestly, many of these things people hope marriage will give them: peace, companionship, emotional safety, support. A lot of people are now learning to build outside marriage. And that may be uncomfortable for society to hear, but that's true. I think many people are no longer afraid of being unmarried, and I like that. What people are truly afraid of now is entering into relationships that slowly drains them emotionally, mentally, and sometimes spiritually. And honestly, I understand why. Because companionship should add strength to your life, not remove it. Marriage should not feel like one person disappearing so another person can survive. It should feel like partnership, two people making life easier for each other, two people growing consciously, two people taking emotional responsibility for themselves while still loving and supporting each other deeply. And maybe that's the conversation that society actually needs now. Not just how do we get married, but how do we truly understand what marriage requires. Because marriage is beautiful, but only when both people remembers why it exists in the first place.